You watch 100 Mile Drive, and today I want to talk about a real world fuel economy of this base BMW X3 30i xDrive versus my BMW X3 M40i. So let's quickly talk about it. I'm starting at 4,359 miles. I'm gonna take this car on a 30-mile round trip. This is exactly how I would commute to work and back. Most of my miles
Hello, what can I help you with?
Cancel. Not sure what is this all about.
All right, see you later.
All my miles basically are going to be on the highway. So I live not that far from the freeway. So I just did a quick cold start and off we go. I'm driving, I'm hitting the freeway, and I'm driving in Eco Pro mode. Since nothing exciting is going on, usually you would typically want to drive on highways in Eco Pro mode to keep your engine efficient. So the biggest thing about this video, right, is officially this car, this is an xDrive, 30i xDrive, a 4-cylinder, 248 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, rated officially 21 in the city and 28 in the highway. Slightly worse fuel efficiency for the all-wheel drive model. Now, my BMW X3 M40i is rated 21 in the city and 26 in the highway. So if you see, it's literally not that much difference. But in a 4-cylinder engine, it's a 0 to 60 like in 6 seconds. And my inline 6-cylinder with a legendary B58 engine is 4.4 seconds 0 to 60. So 1.6 seconds faster. So in this trip, I'm going to talk about not only this fuel efficiency, right, that I'm going to reveal at the end of the video. I'm also going to quickly touch base on the comfort of both of these vehicles. I'm going to talk about the drivetrain. Actually, first I'll talk about drivetrain, then I'll talk about comfort, and lastly I'll talk about start-stop feature in this X3 30i versus the mild hybrid in my X3 M40i. At the end of the video, I'm going to present the numbers, and then I'm going to tell you which car you should buy, this one or that one. And of course, we'll see which one is more efficient. Now, my guess that this X3 30i is going to be better in terms of the highway driving because it's a 4-cylinder, and I've already spent a good 4 or 5 days with this car, and I can see how really efficient this engine is, and I think it's more efficient than my 6-cylinder engine. And first, let's talk about the drivetrain of X3 30i versus X3 M40i. Particularly, how does it feel if you are shopping for either one of these crossovers and you're trying to decide, do you need a 4-cylinder? Do you need an inline 6-cylinder? Like, you don't know, right? Well, the biggest question, who are you, right? Are you a car enthusiast? And by that, I don't mean you have to drive Lamborghinis and Ferraris, but do you like to have more fun with your car? Or do you just want the BMW's safety, BMW's, that confidence that pretty much all their cars have? So in X3 30i, the power is delivered very smoothly, very kind of in a linear way. This is all-wheel drive model as well, right? So in Eco Pro mode, of course, it's a little bit dumbed down, and this is what I'm using right now on this highway test. In comfort mode is what you're going to be mostly driving it at. It feels nice. Transmission is very snappy, very responsive. Love the transmissions on BMW ZF transmissions. They respond really, really well. Even if you are in, you need power in the mid speed or from get-go, it responds pretty well. Not as fast as the Porsche Macan PDK, but fairly responsive. And of course, in sport mode, this is where your engine sound amplifies slightly, and you have a quicker response from transmission. So it keeps things in 1 or 2 gears lower. But overall, your feel of this car, it is fairly quick. Suspension is, I'm gonna talk about that separately, but it's on the comfier side. But this car still feels athletic, good maneuverability. But overall, it's not a car you're overly excited about, right? It's just a car that does everything really well. It accelerates well, it brakes fairly well. It just does everything right, It does everything pretty crisp, but it doesn't have any aggressive character that BMW can have. And that's where we come to X3 M40i, the car I currently have. And interesting thing is that if you drive that car in comfort mode or sport mode, X3 M40i, the car just jumps. It just jumps. You have to be so easy on the throttle, your acceleration throttle, because if you just press it a little bit harder, or like if I drive this car, if I jump into my car, that car will just jump much faster than this. This will be more gradual, linear in any mode, even in sport mode. But my X3 M40i in comfort and sport mode, if you have passengers near you, you have to be very easy on the throttle. So that car I drive in Eco Pro mode even in the city when I have passengers, because that's when the power is very linear and gradual. As soon as I put it in comfort or sport mode, which is even more aggressive, that all-wheel drive system with all that 382 horsepower, it just shoots you forward, and it's quite an amazing, engaging experience. Of course, the engine sound, that's the biggest reason you want X3 M40i, is for the engine, because that engine is very dramatic. It's loud enough, not as loud as the previous gens, because they dumbed it down for 2022 and 3 and 4 models, but yet still it has crisp shifts that you hear, much louder engine, suspension is stiffer, so it steers a little bit different. So overall, the drivetrain is very responsive and aggressive. That car you can drive aggressively. It picks up speed. The mid-range speed is really, like, you can accelerate pretty fast. So it does everything more aggressively, more powerful, with more statement. That car, when you drive it, it has a statement, like it's ready to go. It's always ready to go. So that's the biggest difference in the drivetrain. The next thing I want to talk about is comfort in both of these vehicles. Now, X3 30i, just like I already talked about, the drivetrain is a more comfortable car. Now, don't get me wrong, this car is still athletic. It has really good steering, very pointy, crispy steering, but it does everything very smooth and kind of in a little bit down way, I would say. Yet it's still engaging, right? It's still much more engaging than Audi, than Lexus, even for the 4-cylinder version. The best part is transmission as well, how quick transmission in this car. Now, as far as comfort, seats, somehow, I talked about this in my dynamic drive review, seats in this car slightly more comfortable. I don't know if it's just the build of this car is different or our car is different. Same base Sensatec seats in this X3 30i are slightly softer. It's not just my observation. My wife said the exact same thing, that this car is more comfortable. The other thing, as far as the comfort, is suspension. Now, this car has run flat tires. It comes standard. It even came with my car, and I made a separate video about run flat tires, and I've removed them in my car. But suspension in this car is more comfortable. So if comfort is your #1 priority, by the way, we're passing a bridge here in Calabasas where they're gonna build a bridge for animals to cross from one side to the other. Have you ever heard about cities spending more than, a few $1 million to build a bridge for the animals? That's pretty interesting. All right, so I love animals, by the way. So the comfort in this car is definitely more elevated. Now, you do feel the impact of run flats slightly. It's not that bad, actually. So run flats with comfortable suspension work fine. Whereas in my car, X3 M40i, when you buy that with the run flat tires, you will immediately notice that it will create very jittery ride. Very jittery, especially for you and more for your passengers. They will feel vibration, so it's not that pleasant. I don't even know why they equip X3 M40i with run flats. So I put regular tires. That car feels way more comfortable, but still it's a shorter travel suspension. So if comfort is priority over sport, then X3 30i is a no-brainer. However, if a sport and excitement is your #1 thing, and you want it to be fairly comfortable, then X3 M40i is definitely a good choice. And this is where you don't want to get X3M. X3M is the car that's being criticized so much for zero comfort. I mean, that car just a rattle thing. Like, in a sense, on the road, it feels like almost it has no suspension. It's just a car you just want to floor constantly, like, you know, just for sport. Like, there's no comfort. But X3 M40i is the car with the sweet spot. So if sport is your number one thing, X3 M40i is the comfort is your number one thing, then you may want to consider X3 30i. So these are my observations. And yeah, they are two different cars. I mean, they have similar traits, but that engine and suspension in X3 M40i just makes the whole a lot difference. And I have videos on my channel about my car. There's a whole playlist, you can watch those. All right, so I'm about to hit my 15-mile mark. I'm gonna turn around and go back. And then we're gonna talk about start and stop feature and mild hybrid. All right, guys, I'm halfway through, I'm heading back. Look at this beautiful mountains in front of me. This year, California is getting a lot of rain and it feels and looks so nice. All right, so we're heading back, and now let me talk about start-stop feature versus the mild hybrid in the X3 M40i. Now, this car's start-stop feature means, first of all, it's there. This car has it. I mean, you can disable it, right? If it's annoying, you can disable it. It works in Eco Pro mode and in comfort, and in sport, usually the engine is running. While it's done really well in modern cars, and BMWs no exception, it is noticeable, right? So when you stop at the light, the car shuts off. Sometimes there's a little more vibration in how it starts. Somehow it's different from time to time. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more seamless. Other times it'll be a little bit more obvious, like it'll kick in, the engine will kick in, and the car will slightly vibrate. So, but overall it's done pretty well. And compared to the past, now your steering is not completely like dead, right? Even if the engine is shut off, you can move your steering and it can engage the engine back, which kind of helps if you want to make a quick maneuver from the light, let's say. You can do it, and then the engine will quickly turn on. So of course there'll be slight delay, but it's definitely better in modern BMWs. Now in X3 M40i, there's a mild hybrid, meaning there's a 11 horsepower motor, a small motor, which is, you know, sandwiched between engine and transmission, and that helps to run electrical components in the car, and as well as allow you to cruise in your X3 M40i. Let's say if I'm going downhill, what I can do, what car does, not I can do. If I'm in comfort and Eco Pro mode, the car automatically shuts off the engine and it kind of cruises, right? It can do it between like 15 to almost 90 miles per hour, and it does it automatically. Or especially in the city, when you're approaching a stoplight or something, it will shut off the engine. The coolest thing, it does it very seamlessly. It's almost like engine doesn't go off, it just stays idle, right? And that's how hybrids are set up. If you've, you know, familiar with hybrid charging hybrids, it's a very seamless transition between engine on and off and off and on, and it's very pleasant because it doesn't really interfere that much. Now in X3 M40i, you cannot disable that feature. There's no disabling shutting down of the engine. The only workaround is driving car in a sport mode and basically, you know, manually adjusting your steering comfort, your engine response, your transmission response. Like, you can adjust those settings and but have your engine running all the time, right? So some people are just annoyed by engine shutting down. Me personally, I love it. I mean, I love how seamless they did it. It works really well. Kudos to BMW. And this what helps, not a lot, but it helps with the fuel efficiency of X3 M40i. So hope we're clear on that. So now I'm heading back. Let me reach my destination, meaning back home, and we will discuss fuel efficiency of X3 30i versus X3 M40i. All right, and here I am exiting the highway. I am about to finish my trip. And let me tell you this, now as I'm exiting the highway, I am getting as high as 35.5 miles to the gallon. Now, this is still, my trip is still not completed, so I'm gonna go and, you know, drive maybe 2 blocks because that's where I live. So that way it mimics the actual real world scenario, right? We don't all live on the highway, but it's a very, very efficient engine, let me tell you this. All right, so catch you soon. So there you have it, guys. I am parked stationary. Let me reveal now the actual number for the fuel efficiency of this BMW X3 30i xDrive. And there you have it. Let me go to trip data. And this is 35 miles per gallon, exactly 35 miles per gallon. Now, like I said, it went as high as 35.5 miles per gallon. But since I drove it a little bit in the city, it, you know, lost half of that miles per gallon. So now you'll be asking, what is the actual MPG of the X3 M40i, right? Well, there's a video that you can watch, but I'm gonna reveal it as well here, and that was 32 miles per gallon. So it's about 3 miles per gallon less in my X3 M40i versus this 4-cylinder car. Now, is it a huge difference? No, I don't think so. By the way, I didn't really drive this car super gently. I went with the flow of traffic. Some places even exceeded the speed limit. I just maintained the flow of traffic, so I drove it literally how you would normally drive it, just an Eco Pro, right? So I think 35 miles per gallon is a really real world scenario that you can totally mimic in this car, and as well as in my car, which is 32 miles per gallon. So I personally think that the BMW 6-cylinder engine is super efficient, and I love it. I mean, for the performance that it has, where you can play with that car, you can have fun with it, and at the same time on the regular commutes or long trips, you can just put it in Eco Pro and have really good fuel efficiency of 32 miles per gallon. I think it's excellent. So I hope you found value in this car if you're considering both of these cars. Like I said, if comfort is your number one thing, you don't care about performance, you want more comfort, then X3 30i is a way to go. But if you want something unique, something spicier, something that actually will hold really good value, because those cars are more rare compared to this one, and of course have fun with the legendary B58 engine, then I highly recommend X3 M40i. Another thing, you can get up to 10% MSRP off on those cars if you negotiate it right, for lease or buy, doesn't matter. So let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next video.